everyone, my name's Danielle and welcome to another episode of Board Game Bakes. It's really nice to be back here and not feel sick trying to record this. So, hooray for feeling better. This week we're going to feature Red Rising, which is produced by Stonemaier Games, and they are generous enough to send this copy to Bake and Review. So if you stick around to the end, I'll give you some of my thoughts on how I enjoy playing the game. Instead of making some of the individual components from the game, which are beautiful in themselves, we're going to recreate the box. Because when I saw this on Instagram, I was just taken away by how beautiful it was, and I love the contrast. So, since we have more of a three-dimensional medium, we're going to have parts of it stick out. Since it's Red Rising, I figured we'd go at a red velvet cake and just see how it all comes together. Let's get started. Let's make a red velvet cake. This seemed like a great time to try this recipe, because it's Red Rising. I know, their creativity is overflowing. To begin, first add 4 large room temperature eggs to a bowl and give it a quick mix. Add in 8 ounces of vegetable oil, 12 ounces of buttermilk, 2 tablespoons of white vinegar, and 12 ounces of melted unsalted butter, and mix it until it's combined. Then, mix it again when you remember to add in 1 tablespoon of red food dye. Yes, it does look like I'm stirring what I imagine blood would look like. In another large bowl, add in 28 ounces of all-purpose flour, 28 ounces of granulated sugar, 4 tablespoons cocoa powder, 2 teaspoons salt, and 2 teaspoons baking soda. Mix that until it's homogeneous. Now add in your liquid to the mixture to your dry mixture, and keep mixing until you no longer see any dry ingredients. Pour that into a prepared 13 by 9 pan, and this should be lined with parchment paper and sprayed, and a half of a sphere cake, which you had to grease with Crisco. Bake at 350 degrees for 40-45 minutes for the rectangle cake, and the time could vary depending on the size of your pan or the oven. Let it cool completely before decorating. Time for our tangy cream cheese frosting. This is a double batch. Add 2 8-ounce blocks of softened full-fat cream cheese and 2 sticks of softened unsalted butter to your mixer, and use the paddle attachment to mix until smooth. Add in 6 cups of powdered sugar in 2 batches, which is really just done so you don't inhale too much powdered sugar from the cloud that poofs out of it. When it starts to come together, add in a half teaspoon of salt and 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. Increase the speed and mix until it's light and fluffy. To assemble your main cake, cut the 13 by 9 cake into 4 pieces. This is a very cake-forward cake since the layers are very thick. However, the thick layers gives it the height you need, so it has the right balance between Mars and your background. If you feel really ambitious, you could cut the 3 pieces in half and have a 6-layer cake instead with frosting. But I opted just to keep my 4 humongous layers. Put a bit of icing on the cake board and put the first layer on top. Cover the top of the cake with frosting and repeat that for your remaining layers. Put in the fridge to harden a bit before trimming. To give it extra support, you could also put a bamboo rod in the middle. Take it out of the fridge and trim the sides. Once they're relatively even, put on a crumb coat. Return to the fridge, and once it's hard to the touch, put on your final coat of icing. For the sphere cake you made, attach half of the circle cake, so it's a quarter of the sphere, onto a cake board. Apply a thin layer of cream cheese frosting to the rounded side, so we're going to leave the back of it unfrosted, and return to the fridge. Both of these cakes can sit in the fridge until you're ready to decorate. While you're here, make sure you hit subscribe for new videos every Tuesday at 12 p.m. EST. Click the button. You know you want to. Cover your rectangular cake with black fondant. Sounds simple, right? That's what I thought too. I tried putting it over the top, but too much of it was wasted with overlapping sides. So I did a version of paneling, which mostly worked, after some frustration. Nice thing is that it gets covered in more fondant anyway. Hooray! Let's create our Mars cake, which is the core of a sphere part. Roll out red fondant to 1/8 of an inch thickness and cover the curved part of the cake. Leave the straight edge as plain cake because we're going to stick that onto the front of our rectangle. To add details to Mars, use an airbrush machine to add some black shadows. Complete the shadows and dark spots with black edible marker. To make the people in the box, you need black and white modeling chocolate or fondant. I have a mix here. You could probably just guesstimate shapes based on the box for the people, or I was able to make little stencils to painfully use. Roll out some black modeling chocolate and trace all your people, minus your center guy, and your wolf head, which is a lot easier than actually tracing them all out with your little tiny knife. Once the people have firmed up, use thick white royal icing to trace your shapes and help them pop. Roll out some white fondant and cut out the central figure silhouette. You can also trace the wolf again. Cut the white wolf head apart for the different sections shown in the box. Spray it and use edible markers that are red to give it that nice red color and some black shadowing. Trim some of the pieces so this way there's some of the black chocolate that shows when you put it all together. And finally, use your white royal icing as glue to stick the white wolf parts onto your black wolf. To make the background stripes, roll out a batch of fondant to make a large rectangle that is about 2 feet long and at least 8 inches wide. Whip out your airbrush machine to save yourself a lot of time. Use the airbrush to create a rainbow of colors along the long side of your fondant. Use a knife or a pizza cutter to cut out strips of the different colors. It may have been neater to use a measuring tape, but I definitely didn't have one this long. It'd probably just be better at straight lines, which is not one of my strengths. Take out your cake and pick stripes that correlate with the colors on the Red Rising box. If you need a white strip, just flip over a color strip you're not using. Apply a small amount of water to the back of the strips to get it to stick on the cake. Your goal is to have it go up and over the top, so this way the front and the back and the top all have the strips on it. The bottom part of the front will get covered by Mars, so worst case they're not perfectly smooth there. Once your airbrush has dried, use an edible marker to add some colors to get it look closer to the range of colors found in the box. When I first saw the box, I knew I wanted to bake it someday. The colors on it are amazing. Let's put all these pieces together. Use white royal icing to stick your Mars onto the front of your cake. Use it also to apply the people silhouettes, and then your wolf to the upper central part of your cake. Ta-da! A chunkier and hopefully tastier version of the box. Thanks for watching another episode of Board Game Bakes. I know at some points I was a little unsure whether it'd all work out, but I think it was a beautiful cake in the end. Thanks again to Stonemaier Games for sending this game to review and bake. If you want to find more information about Red Rising, the link is below for you to go to their website. I'm going to try something new and give you some of my thoughts on the game. I had the opportunity to play Red Rising with 6 people, which may make some of you grimace because most games when you get to 6 people, it goes a little downhill. So there's definitely some things that were affected by having 6 players, but overall it was still a great experience, and that's saying a lot because I came in dead last, like by over 100 points. So apparently I did something wrong, and I'm going to have to try again. But the game is beautiful, all the components are gorgeous, it has such a high quality of production. I love that all the cards are unique, and they all have beautiful artwork. So someone put a lot of love and tender care into making all those beautiful cards. All the pieces, they're heavy and weighty, so that just gives a nice tangible component to it. I would say my one complaint would be that there's only so many metallic colors you can make. So some of the metallic colors, when you're playing with all 6 people, it's a little hard to tell them apart, but you can't have that without them being metallic. So I really enjoyed the mechanism, how it was just a simple, you'd either do option A or option B, and that was it. So there's more thinking about strategy and reading the cards, but the actual deciding what to do wasn't that difficult. I also like that there's endpoints that can be met by one person if they're totally creaming you, or all together if we're more evenly balanced. So, would I play it again as 6-player? Not for a while, but I'd be very intrigued to try playing it with 3-player again soon, because I feel like 3 players would give you enough time to have a space between your turns, and still give you the same feel of the game. So, thank you very much for sending me this game. I love it, and I can't wait to try it again. So let me know in the comments which is a game that you've played just because the box art looks so amazing that you had to try it. This was one of the ones on my list, but what's a game that you just love the box artwork so much you had to play it? Thanks for watching another episode of Board Game Bakes. Keep playing games and keep them sweet. Bye!